Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and before we start today's show, I wanted to talk to all the guitar players out there about something really interesting. If you're a guitar player, or probably any other kind of musician, or if you know a musician who's looking to make some more money without having to tour or go on the road, or put up with any of the other BS that musicians normally have to deal with, then what I'm about to tell you is probably the most exciting and important message you'll ever hear. As a business guy who just happens to play guitar, one of the first things I realized after interviewing, say, the first 50 or so guitar players was that if I was going to get into this business today, the first thing I'd look at doing is learning how to license your music. And by licensing music, I mean getting your music inserted into movies, television shows, and commercials. And here's why. There are 4 reasons, actually. First of all, focusing on record deals, publishing, and touring means that you're putting your destiny in someone else's hands. You're at the whim of someone who has literally thousands of other people competing for their attention, many of whom, frankly, may have music with more commercial appeal than your music has, which means you get what's ever left over as far as attention from that particular manager, publisher, publicist, or booking agent, right? And I don't know how you feel, but for me, I'm totally uncomfortable leaving my destiny and my family's financial future up to someone else. Second, I've learned in business that if you work in areas that are less competitive and not as crowded, your likelihood of success goes up dramatically. And there are way less people competing to have their music licensed than there are trying to make records, get their songs published, and go on tour. In fact, there are so many people competing to play music, the average working musician today, by and large, earns the same or less money than they were making back in the 1970s and 1980s. Third, in the licensing business, it's not unusual to have one or more of your songs wind up paying you multiple times over and over again. In some cases, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. In fact, some songs you even get paid on multiple times over from a variety of sources because different people wind up licensing that same song from you. Many times you get paid for songs you recorded months or even years ago. So no work you do is ever wasted. Even if a particular song doesn't get picked up right now, there's a very good chance it can get picked up later. And the more music you write, the more opportunities you get for placements. The more placements, the more money you make, both up front as income from licensing fees and on the backside in terms of royalties for years to come. And the fourth reason I like this industry is that a free ebook has just been published, which pretty much takes you by the hand and shows you step by step how to get your music licensed. The book is less than 20 pages long, and it was written by Mike Elsner, who I interviewed in episode number 167 of this show. Mike's been doing this for over 14 years, and he's actually had over 2,000 songs licensed at this point in time. Now, I want you to pay attention to something because that means he's getting paid to license almost 150 songs per year. Now, keep in mind, most successful career musicians don't even get paid for 150 songs in total over a 30 or 40-year career, yet Mike's getting paid for this on an annual basis. And in this free ebook, you'll discover the 4 simple steps to licensing success, including step 1, which actually shows you how to get paid a significant upfront licensing fee as well as quarterly royalties. You'll learn how to get paid for learning how to play a new instrument. And I'm not kidding. He actually shows you an example of he basically practiced a new instrument and he licensed all the songs, and he walks you through this. In step 2, you'll learn how to quickly expand your song catalog by 5 to 6 times its current size without having to create literally anything new. That's right, you'll learn how to easily turn 10 songs into 50 to 60 songs in less than 5 minutes each. And each one of those new songs now becomes another new asset you can sell. You'll learn what to do, and maybe even more important, what not to do to get your music quickly noticed by music supervisors. And this one simple nugget alone easily makes the difference between regularly getting your music licensed and never getting it licensed at all. He'll show you 4 ways to get paid to license your music, and then you get to pick and choose which one of those 4 ways works best for you. And you'll also get to uncover little-known secrets to using common websites online to get free names of people who would want to license your music. And the other cool thing I like about this business is that you can run it all from your home studio. No ivory tower record label executives telling you what to play and how to play it, and no shady managers or backroom publishers with their own agenda telling you what to do. So download Mike's free ebook on music licensing right now. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. That's it, real simple. Let me know how you like the book, and now let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and I've got the one and only Bob Britt with us today. Bob is quite the chatterbox. He's a studio and touring guitarist out of Nashville. In the studio, let me just give you a small sampling of the artists he's worked with. Bob Dylan, John Fogerty, Buddy Guy, Leon Russell, Edgar Winter, Delbert McClinton, Trace Adkins, Lee Brice, Patty Loveless, John Oates, Steve Cropper, Trisha Yearwood, LeeRoy Parnell, David Allan Coe, and T. Graham Brown. Also, he backed up the following on television concerts, award shows, and things like that. Clapton, Sheryl Crow, Bruce Springsteen, Cher, Stevie Nicks, Ricky Skaggs, Michael McDonald, Robin Ford, Keith Urban, Willie Nelson, Felix Cavalieri, John Kay, Mark Farner, B.J. Thomas, John Anderson, Ray Benson, and Johnny Winter. Holy smokes. Bob, are you sure you're on the right show? What's that?
I said I don't remember half of them.
That's okay. Most musicians don't when you get to our age.
Yeah.
Hey, you were really active in the session scene for a while here, and I was wondering if for each of these artists, maybe you could share with us how you got the gig, a cool story about working with them, and if you happen to learn anything from these guys, whether about entertaining, playing, or business even. And let's start with John Fogerty.
Let's see how I got the gig. I got the gig through his manager, who was Bob Dylan's manager, and I had played on a Bob Dylan record. So John was looking for a guitar player, and I guess his manager just told him, about me, and it just told him he should hire me. I didn't audition. I just flew out and started rehearsals with him. So that was, I don't know, that was a pretty easy way to get a gig.
Yeah, for sure.
And flew out, rehearsed for, I don't know, I guess about a week out in Burbank, and started the tour. I played with him for, I guess, about 3 years. And it's, all that Creedence stuff that we all grew up hearing and loving.
So you played on studio on albums and toured with him then?
Well, I did. I played on a record. I got to the rehearsal. So we're at rehearsals, and he's the kind of guy, he would kind of walk around and tell everybody what he wanted them to play. And I was playing guitar, and Billy Burnett was also playing guitar. And it came to one of the Rain songs, I Can't Stand the Rain, or that's probably what it was. No, not I Can't Stand
Who'll Stop the Rain? Who'll
Stop the Rain. And he comes walking over to Billy and I, and he goes, well, I guess you guys both just play acoustic. And then I said, well, why don't I play like a Gretsch with the Bigsby tremolo thing? And he goes, huh? And he said, well, yeah, let me see what that sounds like. So I did that, and he loved it. And then he came, and he immediately walked over and goes, okay, we need to go to the studio tomorrow, and you need to play on this record. And it was a tune that he had cut, and he thought that would be perfect for, so I did, and went in there and played. He's an odd guy in the studio. He wants to do multiple takes. So I played the same thing probably 30, 40 takes.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Was it his own studio?
No. So a commercial studio there.
Wow. I guess when you have John Fogerty money, you can.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different than when you used to here in Nashville.
Yeah. No, in Nashville, we want to cut 5 songs in a 3-hour session.
Yeah. Holy smokes.
Completely different. So that, and so I did that, and then he also that kind of opened his. After that, at rehearsals, he'd go, well, what do you want to play? What do you think you should play on this? You know, rather than telling me what to play. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, really cool. Did you have, was that your Gretsch you had with you? Did you, like, how many guitars would you bring out on a gig for something like that?
You know, I don't really even remember what I had out there. It might have been, I might have just gotten a guitar from the rehearsal hall we were at.
Okay.
It's that big place. I can't think what it's called in Burbank, not far from the airport. Center Staging. You know, and they're like SIR. Same thing. So they have rental gear and rehearsal halls. So I don't know. I mean, I did take a Gretsch out, you know, 61 point with him, and I played that on that song or on several songs, you know. And then he ended up giving me, you know, solos on several songs, which he kind of typically hadn't done in the past. So, you know, I guess he really liked the way I played, I guess.
That's great, man.
Yeah. And so we had a good, the band was great. It was me and Billy Burnett, George Hawkins on bass. It started out, it was John Molo on drums. He played with Bruce Hornsby in the Range. And that was, he was there for about a year, I guess, and then Kenny Arnoff came back. Kenny played the other couple of years that I was there.
How did the vibe shift? Because, you know, Kenny's such a powerful drummer. I don't know the guy from Bruce Hornsby in the Range. I'm not familiar with his drumming, but Kenny's such a powerful drummer. Did the vibe shift? Because I know how important a role, you know, the drummer is.
Yeah. Kenny's on 11 all the time.
Right.
Just as a person too. I mean, you run into him and he basically tackles you. You know, he's the kind of guy. Yeah. And John is the opposite of that, really. He's a real kind of laid back guy. But John likes the drummer to play on top of the beat, which is counterintuitive to a lot of people, you know, and definitely to me, I'd like to play on the back side of the beat. And when Kenny came back in and we started rehearsals again, instantly he was playing on where I thought it was right, on the back side of the beat, but then John is constantly turning around going, no, you got to, come on, kick it up, play on, you know. And then, so it turned around and got to be that, you know. And Kenny's a great drummer, and so is John. They're both great, but I guess Kenny's more exciting, definitely more exciting, powerful. And, John's more of a vibe guy.
Did you see Sidemen?
Pardon me?
Have you seen?
Is that? No, I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Rob McNally. Do you know Rob? I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Rob has a funny comment about Kenny. I won't spoil it for you, but it's just a funny little little snippet. It's kind of cool. The movie was good in general, but
yeah, I need that.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, you know. Talk about Edgar Winter. I saw Edgar in concert. Oh my God, like a really long time ago. And then I saw him at, you know, some like group concert. But what was it like? How'd you get the gig with Edgar, and what was that like?
Well, Edgar actually joined. I played with Leon Russell for 9 or 10 years, and Edgar opened a show for Leon somewhere in Florida, I think. And Leon asked him if he'd want to come, if he'd sit in. So he came and sat in with us and played Over the Rainbow and played a few songs. And then Leon just asked him if he'd like to join the band. And so that's how that came about. Edgar just joined up with Leon and did, so we did a combination of Leon and Edgar stuff for again, that was probably 3 or 4 years that went on. So that was really cool. And Edgar, and one night we played at the Ritz in New York City, and Johnny came out.
Oh, wow.
So we played with, Johnny got up and played with us. So that was really cool, playing with, you had all that white hair up there. You had Leon, Edgar, and
was this when Johnny was in better health, or is it at the tail end of his career?
This was in mid-'80s.
Oh, great! So he was pretty healthy then.
Yeah, he was doing good.
Yeah, that's a nice venue. I've seen shows there.
Yeah, I like that place. So we did something off of Johnny's new record that had just come out. We kind of worked it up during the day. It was a little bit of a train wreck because it had some 2/4 bars in it and some interesting changes here and there. And Johnny wasn't there to run it during the afternoon, and Edgar kind of ran it. And then Edgar said, "Just watch me. I'll hold up my fingers for what chord changes are and when to go." And there was a point in the song where it got a little left-handed.
Nobody knew what anybody was doing.
Right. And Johnny got a little miffed, that little brother.
Yeah.
But still, it was so cool. And Johnny played, it was interesting, I'd heard this, but he had his, I guess they were Music Man 410 amps that he played through, like a super reverb. Or maybe they were super reverbs, I can't remember. But volume on 10, treble on 10, mids and bass on 0.
Interesting.
But you get it up that loud, and the cabinet, there's something about the amp that you don't need the bass on. It just develops it naturally.
Wow.
So that was an interesting thing I learned that day.
Volume on 10, bass and treble on 0. Excuse me, bass and mid on 0, treble on 10.
Bass and mid, if there was a mid, or maybe the mid was somewhere, but the bass was definitely on 0. But there was still all kinds of low end, plenty of body in it. You get up to that volume level, which I can't take anymore, but I don't like playing loud.
Which guitar was he playing at that time? Was he playing the little Steinberger?
I think it was the not Steinbrenner, not George Steinbrenner.
No, Steinberger.
Steinberger.
Yeah, Steinberger. Yeah. I know I said Steinbrenner. Steinberger.
I think he was playing a Steinberger.
Yeah, that's what I think he was playing in the 80s, the mid to late 80s. I interviewed Paul Nelson, who was his guitarist and manager at the end of his career, and he was, I don't know if you saw the movie Down and Dirty. He was the guy that helped Johnny get off methadone, but he said that, I hope I'm paraphrasing him right and I remember this correctly, but he said Johnny changed in his soloing. Every 2 bars he would do something different. Do you have any recollection of that? Like, he would never extend something longer than 2 bars. He would just change it up all the time, every 2 bars.
I don't know. You mean as opposed to like repeating something over and over?
Yes.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
That kind of makes some sense to me, I guess.
Yeah. Which is pretty, and he's, a lot of his stuff, he was not playing slow. So, I mean, that's, it's
right.
When you add into that, he's playing rapid fire and he's changing, patterns every 2 bars. I mean, he had a lot going on up in his head for sure, complexity wise.
Yeah.
To execute like that.
But, Edgar, I think Edgar plays all the instruments he plays because, he was Johnny's little brother. And when Johnny needed somebody to play piano, he'd say, "Edgar, you need to play piano," or "Edgar, you need to play sax," or "Edgar, you need to play drums." So Edgar plays all that stuff.
That makes sense.
His sax playing, though, to me, he's one of the best sax players on the planet.
He's a talented musician, very good writer. I mean, his songs are always really, robust and quality stuff, man.
Yeah. He's very intelligent, musically intelligent guy, and just intelligent. We played cards all the time on the bus. Me and Leon and Edgar and our drummer at the time, Herb Schuker. We'd play spades constantly. For hours.
Oh man, sometimes I'll interview a guy when he's on the road, and like 100% of the time it works like this. Listen, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And they're like, no, you don't understand. I got 23 hours of nothing. You are helping me. This is a break for me. So yeah, that's a tough. When you think about it like that, most people are on the outside thinking everything is so glamorous, and it might be for 60 to 90 minutes or 60 minutes to an hour to two, but it's a mundane existence outside of that.
Yeah, we don't get paid to play. We get paid to travel.
Yeah.
When you're on tour, it's all that time that the on stage time is the good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man.
What we love to do. And fortunately, we've found what we love to do and figured out a way to make a living doing it.
Yeah, and everybody I speak to, every professional I've spoken to is really grateful for that opportunity. The gratitude that is universal, and it's really humbling to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, we're blessed to be able to do what we do.
For sure, man. Talk about Delbert, because you've been with him for a while now, and this has been a nice gig for you.
Well, Delbert, the gig came about. I've known Rob for years, and Rob was Delbert's guitar player previous to me. I subbed for Rob one weekend when his wife was having a baby. And so I went and did a couple of gigs with Delbert. And then years later, I was just talking to my wife, trying to figure out when that was, because it was, I think their daughter is probably 13-ish. So that was a while back. And then I was playing on a record at Kevin McKendry's, so McCreary Sisters record. They're a black gospel quartet. And Delbert was there, and we were just hanging out talking. And Steve Mackey, bass player from here, who also played with Delbert, and told me about this guy he saw on the cruise, Foy Vance, who's just phenomenal, Irish singer, songwriter. And I mentioned him to Delbert, and Delbert said, "Well, did you see him on the cruise?" And I said, "No, I haven't been on the cruise." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "Well, I've just never been playing with anybody who's been on it." They said, "Well, you should go. You want to come this year?" And I said, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, you and Etta come on as my guest." So great. So we're about a month out from getting on the boat, and Rob calls me up and said, "Man, can you fill in for me with Delbert? I've got booked on this session that I really don't want to miss." And it was the first Lady Antebellum, which was really a springboard for Rob's session. And I said, "Yeah." So I played with Delbert on the cruise, and I played with wasn't the McCreary Sisters. Anyway, a few people that Rob was going to play with. So I just filled in for him, and then Rob's session thing took off, and so he was staying in town, and then I just kind of took his spot with Delbert. And it's been really great, because Delbert's music really is perfect fit for me. It's what I love, everything about it. And, we have a really good relationship. We write together a lot. I wrote co-wrote over half the last record and co-produced it.
That's awesome. So you've gotten great experience not just playing, but just musical experience.
Yeah. And we're writing, we've just started recording. We cut some tracks a couple of months ago for the next record, and getting ready to go. Delbert has a place down in Mexico that he likes to go to when we write. So I'm going down there after tomorrow for a week, and we'll try and finish up what we need for the next record, and then get in and get at it, you know.
That's great, man. That's really nice. And Steve Cropper, how did that come about? What a great opportunity.
Yeah, I don't really remember how I met him. It may have been through Eddie Gore. He's an engineer here, and he also a piano player and producer. And I've done a lot of sections for him. And his studio was at, I guess Steve actually owned the studio that Eddie ran. So I worked there a lot, and that's probably where I met Steve. And then Steve started hiring me to plan some projects that he was doing. So I've worked with him as a producer, and then several years back there was a benefit for, I think it's TJ Martell organization, and they did a thing that was honoring Steve's 50 years in the music business. They did a show at the Ryman, and there were all these guest artists that Steve had come and play. And he had me in the house band as the guitar player. So you know, in a 4-piece horn section, it was just.
That's awesome. I didn't even know he was in Nashville. I thought he was in Muscle Shoals. Well,
no, he's from Memphis, I think, really, but he's lived here for quite a while. A great guy, fun hang. You know, I just saw him at a Christmas party. I don't know, a few weeks back, a couple weeks ago, and we had a good visit.
What did you learn, or if anything, did you learn anything from working with Steve?
I don't know that I could put my finger on anything that I learned from actually being in the studio with him, but we've all, people of my age group who grew up hearing all that stuff that he played on, all the stack stuff, you know, he was a huge influence playing-wise on how I play, for sure. But just those cool little 2-note things that he does, you know, I find myself doing a lot of. Yeah, I don't know that I could really say that while working in the studio.
Sure. More as an influence.
Anything that I picked up from him. You know.
Sure. Last time we spoke, you mentioned to me Leon Russell was kind of like your music dad, and in many ways a second proper dad. And I was curious how that relationship developed and what were the most important things he taught you personally and professionally.
Well, when I started playing with Leon, I was probably 22, I think. And I lived at his house for the first 2 or 3 years I worked with him. He had a houseboat. I lived on the houseboat for a while, and where I had a bedroom downstairs at the house.
Where was this?
This was in Hendersonville,
North Carolina. Oh, Nashville.
No.
Okay.
It's on the north side of Nashville, Hendersonville. It's on a lake.
Okay.
And I learned I learned how to engineer there too, because he had the studio at the house. And, I was with him pretty much all the time, when we're on the road, it was he and his wife and myself and my brother in his little motorhome. And it was either he was driving or I was driving. And one of, if I was driving, he was in the jump seat. If he was driving, I was in the jump seat. And it was just, so we were pretty much together all the time. It really was kind of, a family situation.
You have, I've heard there's another Brit up there. So I thought that had to be is there one or two is there two other Brits besides?
Well, there are a couple other Brits. Tom is my brother. He's a guitar player, and he played with Vince Gill for years and years. He's a incredible, his main thing is open tuning stuff, slide. With Brice was always he probably his biggest influence was Brice. And then some Sonny, so that kind of thing. He's great. And he was playing with Leon when I first came on board. And we both were there for maybe a year or so. And then Leon started making the band a little smaller. It was huge when I started. 2 guitar players. He had another additional keyboard player. We had 2 drummers. 3 horn players, a steel. Well, my brother played steel and guitar. We had a fiddle player, although it was Jonathan Yetkin. He said, no, it's not a fiddle, it's a violin. Harmonica player, 4 background singers.
That's massive.
Yeah, it was huge.
But at that time, someone told me last week that at that time, I think it was probably mid-70s, early to mid-70s?
Early 80s.
Early 80s?
I started probably in 80. I think it was 80 or 81. I can't remember.
Someone told me at that time he was like the number 1 touring act on the road as far as gross.
He was in 1972, I think.
Okay.
Which was, around the time of Mad Dogs and Englishmen, that era. Yeah, he was huge.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have seen Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
Oh, yeah.
I have all the DVDs, anything you can find for that.
Sure. So how long were you with him?
About 10 years, I guess.
That's a really long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. And I think I swore to myself I would never stay with any act that long again. I kind of said, I need to have a 2-year limit, 2 or 3 year limit on any touring acts that I've been with. But man, that's off the table with Delbert. I'll hang with Delbert as long as I can. He's been so good to my family and myself. I went through a health problem. I had cancer, and he really helped. He really took care of me.
That's great. You good now?
Yeah.
That's good, man. I'm happy. Good. That's good to hear, man.
About 1.5 years out from when my treatments ended.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. That's a big thing. So, 10 years, it was just overwhelming, all-consuming, I would imagine. 10 years is, it's like being married, but you're not.
Yeah, but, you don't think about it. I didn't, I had a great time, and I learned, I've learned so much playing with him. He's a pretty genius musician. I learned a lot about how bass notes affect triads, on chordal things, I learned all kinds of theory stuff that I didn't know. He taught me. And his left hand, I learned a lot about how bass relates to chords, basically, because his left hand is his strong side. had some kind of disease as a child. I thought it was polio, but I've since learned it wasn't. And his right side was affected. And he called his right hand his gimp hand. His left hand was really strong. He did all that occupation. And, you know, he just, I learned a lot about, subconsciously I learned a lot, you know, just playing with him. You just absorb things. You know? And, you know, a lot of what I play, what I go for, I hear Leon in it. You know?
His influence is strong, yeah.
When I just pick up a guitar and I start playing, it's obvious to me that it came from him.
Right.
You know, and when I sing, people say that I kind of sing a little like.
Well, that's not a bad comparison.
No, you know, and I, you know, I haven't really sung a lot, or people might not know that I sing. You know? I have things I do that people just don't know. You know.
So, but you sing backup like with Delbert?
I do. I sing backup with Delbert, and in the middle of the show, he'll take a little break, and I'll do a tune, and James will do a tune, and
oh, that's cool.
Horns might do a tune or something. You know, just he likes to go have a little refreshment in the middle of the show, have a little break.
Yeah, I bet. Where are you originally from?
I was born in Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm the youngest of 4 boys.
Wow.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and then we moved to Sioux City, Iowa. And I think it's probably in 4th grade or something. Then we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio for a minute, and then Evansville, Indiana, and then the Bay Area.
Oh, wow. So would you... What's that?
Moved to the Bay Area in my senior year of high school.
Well, that's a pretty freaking cool place to go when you're a senior in high school, no?
That was a shock. You know.
Well, coming from them, yeah. Well, how come all that moving around? Was your dad getting transferred or something? Or
kept getting promoted. He worked for Pitney Bowes, which is postage machines, copiers, office equipment. And he just kept getting promotions, and he'd be manager at one place, and then they'd send him out, you know, to another location. So that's why all the moving around. You know, I went to, I think, 14 different schools growing up.
Wow.
You know, so I don't really have any childhood friends. You know. Yeah.
Right. And touring is probably not a big deal. Not a. It's like just being when you're a kid.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you pick up and go. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you lived in mostly rural places, it sounds like, prior to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest shot?
It's just the amount of people and the crazy, you know, at school or just everywhere, the amount of people everywhere. And the school was, you know, I went from a little small high school to this big school in San Mateo. You know, and you'd go to, you know, in Evansville, Indiana, you'd go to a party and there were maybe 10 people there. But and you go out there and there's 250 people, you know. It's just kind of crazy. It's a little sensory overload.
Are you more comfortable now as an adult in a smaller place or a city?
Smaller places.
Yeah.
I much prefer rural areas, you know. I don't live in Nashville. We live in a little town outside of Nashville, about 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
West of town.
Sure.
And when I did live in town, the last place I lived, we had a farm that was actually in Davidson County. So I had, you know, we had 9.5 acres.
Oh, that's a nice spread, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like we go to New York City all the time, but I don't like it. I'm ready to get out of there as soon as I get in. You know, just let me find a good meal and do the show and get the hell out of it.
I can understand that if you're just New York's a major,
Yeah, I don't like crowds.
Yeah, and it's funny. I grew up in New York City, and for years and years, I would only be comfortable in crowds.
Right.
It's really weird. Now I like suburbia. I don't know if I can handle rural, but I live in suburbs. I like that, but I always feel safer. Because you always have this very ethnocentric mentality when you grow up in New York too. Like, you don't, you think the rest of the world is playing banjos. It's just the way, because you don't know any, but you don't meet anybody from Iowa in the Bronx.
Right.
It's just.
Well, and I've talked about that with people. Saying, I'm just saying that I would imagine people who grow up in the city like that. That's all they know.
Yes.
If you dropped them out in a cornfield somewhere, they'd freak out.
Scared shitless because there's no people. Yeah. We live in Tampa. It's a little suburb outside of Tampa, but it's basically Tampa. And there's a place we go to pick blueberries 20 minutes north called Masarky Town. And you have to drive through a road that's some phosphate. Phosphate was a big industry in Florida. So you got to drive through this phosphate place. So
is that the stuff that stinks?
Yeah, it's white stuff. It gets all over your car. It's just gross. Yeah. But we're driving out there, and the first time, so it's my wife and I got the 3 kids in the back, and I sent my buddy a text. I said, hey, man, if something happens, this is where we're at. Because I'm driving around there. There's nothing but phosphate. And I'm thinking deliverance. Here we go, man. Because there's no people. I mean, it's just, and there's like a house and then maybe a mile or 2 later. So and now I'm a lot better. And and it's been good for me living here because I got my mind expanded, I'm aware that, just because you're from Iowa, you don't necessarily your parents weren't related, necessarily. Well, that's good because you grew up in New York and that's what you think. You're not hip to that. There's things you are hip to that people in smaller towns aren't, and vice versa.
People are the same everywhere.
Yeah, that's what you learn. That's what I've learned. Everybody's the same.
Yeah,
everybody's the same, no matter what your income level is, the skin color. It
doesn't matter.
Yeah, man. We've all, I always say,
language you speak,
you all got kids that don't listen to you the way you want them to. Too much to do, not enough time to do it. No matter how much money you're making, you got to make more and get the hustle going. So it's really not, it's like, it's been a real good experience for me to over the last 20 years to be down here and get around that.
So you've been there 20 years.
I've been in Florida since '89. I was in South Florida from '89 to 2004, and I've been here in Tampa since then. South Florida was a little rough. Yeah, it was a little aggressive there. And I grew up in the Bronx, and I'm saying that. So it's a pretty aggressive place.
We did the Dylan record down there in Miami.
Criteria?
Yeah. Criteria, yeah.
Do you know Chris Rodriguez?
I do.
He grew up 2 blocks from Criteria.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 blocks away from. What's that?
Chris is great.
Yeah, he's a good guy too. Great player, good guy. But 2 blocks away from Criteria, he lived.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I got more useless information in my head about everybody in Nashville than you'd ever. So growing up was, I guess, moving around all that time. It was kind of probably challenging.
I don't know. That's what I knew.
That's what you did. Yeah.
So it may seem challenging to someone who didn't grow up that way, but when you grow up that way, it's what you know.
But I bet you guys, the 4 brothers, were super close.
Tom and I were pretty close, I guess. We're 4.5 years apart, and then the other ones are another 5 years older.
Okay.
So really, I kind of hung out or tried to hang out with Tom and his friends when they let me.
Right, of course. You're the baby.
I'm the baby.
Yeah.
The older ones, not so much. We didn't all hang out together, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom and I did, and we had music in common. He's really the reason I started playing guitar. He played guitar first, and then I thought, well, I want a guitar. So when I was 7, I got my first guitar.
What was it?
It was the first one I had was this awful little, I think it was a silver tone, but it was metal. Or it was Montgomery Ward or something. It was this little electric guitar. It was awful. And then I got some kind of acoustic guitar, 12-string. I don't even remember what that was. But Tom he had a better guitar, so I'd play his guitar. And then I think I got a Fender Mustang.
Cool.
That was my first decent electric guitar. Got a Fender Mustang, had an SG for a minute, then went to Strats. I played Strats most of my life, I suppose. In California, I had an Ibanez, the 335 looking one.
Yeah. Those are great guitars, man.
They really were. I wish I still had that. That's like what Schofield plays.
Yeah, I know exactly the guitar you have.
And, and then over the years, I've gotten other, Gretches and Les Pauls and, different stuff like that. But I've always really, at my core, I'm a Fender.
Strat guy.
Oh, yeah, but it has since changed to Telly.
Oh, wow.
Because, I've had Tellys. I've had several Tellys, and never had one I loved. And Dan Baird, a friend of mine, he's the Georgia Satellites guy. I ran into him, and he had a 50, I don't know, it's probably 53 or 4 Telly that he finally wore out. He sweat so badly that it would short the pickups out.
Wow.
It could become so porous that his pickups would short out from his sweat.
That's a lot of sweat.
And we had to retire that guitar, and he had Dan Strain. I don't know if you know who Dan is. He makes Danocaster.
Okay.
He's here in Nashville, and Dan made Dan a guitar.
Dan made Dan a guitar.
I saw that guitar, and I picked it up, and I just, what is this? This is fabulous. And he told me it's this guy, Dan Strain, Danocaster, and gave me his number. I called him up, and I went over to his place, and he was a session player in L.A., and then he just started making guitars at some point, and he moved. I'm not sure when he moved to Nashville, but he and his wife make them, just the two of them. She kind of does the finishes on the necks and stuff, and he has a 56 Telly. He's got a couple old Tellys, but the Telly that I had him make me is basically, they're kind of based on his real guitars, and it's my favorite guitar. I cannot put it down.
How does it differ from a Fender?
It's basically, it's like, if you pick this guitar up, you'd swear it's a 50s Telly, but it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. The neck is perfect for me.
Are you a big guy? Do you have big hands?
I do have big hands. His necks are a V-neck. I think he has a couple of different necks you can choose from, but I like V-necks. I have a 56 Strat that has a pretty pronounced V. That was always my main guitar. I got that in 1986, I think, when I played with Leon.
You sent me a picture, and you have this a really cool looking. It's like not Daphne blue, but it's a cool looking blue Strat with a rosewood neck, but it has these switches on it, almost like a what is the deal? Like a Mustang, or what the hell is it? Or a Jaguar almost? Yeah, what is that? Yeah,
it's out of a Jaguar. That is a '63 Strat, I'm pretty sure. It might be I think the neck is 63. The body might be 60. I'm not certain of that. My cousin had that guitar, and he gave it to me years ago.
You got to have a lot of balls to take a 60 Strat and route it out and stick switches in there. That's
it's from years ago.
Oh, that wasn't okay. So that was done back then.
It was probably done in the '60s.
Oh, okay.
You know, but it's none of that's hooked up.
Okay.
But I just left it on.
Yeah, it's cool looking the way it is. It's like
that guitar is like I use that guitar for slide. I have flat wounds on it, and it's open too.
Yeah, it's a nice looking guitar, man. I really dug it.
Yeah, it's a really great guitar. You know, and that's really all I use that guitar for. Is slide.
Do you happen to know what the color blue is? It's just not Lake Placid. It's not eggshell.
It's not the original color. It's
okay. So
that guitar was sunburst.
Okay.
The bottom. So I don't know if my cousin painted it or who painted it. But, it looks like it's, you know, it's a decent paint job. Like it's like an auto body shop did it or something.
Looks really good. I mean, I just couldn't figure out the color. It was funny when I was thinking when you said you got your first guitar, it was like a Silvertone or some, you know, clunker. It's different nowadays. The kids get a first guitar. What's your first guitar? Oh, it was pretty good. It was a Les Paul Custom. Back in the day, it was like, you know, a cigar box with rubber bands or whatever. You know, it's just a weird time we're growing up in here, man.
Nails.
What's that?
2x4. I hammered some nails in.
Yeah, you know, and now it's like, oh, I got something from the Fender Custom Shop. It's all right. I don't get it, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I have lots of different guitars, but I guess the ones I like are really the Telly that Dan made me. The 56 Strat, that blue Strat for slide. I have a really old Silvertone, probably a 50s Silvertone that is really great. A single cut, you know, I guess it's a U2, you know, it's a 2 pickup single cut that I found at some used music store. It's really great. I have one of those Yamaha AES 1500s.
What is that?
It's like a Gretsch, you know, F-hole, but it's a thinner body than a 6120, you know. But I had TV Jones. He made me a couple of pickups that I put in that guitar. So it kind of takes the place of a Gretsch. I think it's better made than a Gretsch. I probably shouldn't say that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. It is what it is, man.
Yeah, and it's just a very sometimes Gretches are. In a live situation, if the volume gets up there, they can be uncontrollable. The Yamaha is not that way at all. It's very controllable. I'm not sure why. It's a really good guitar.
Have you ever played those? Man, I'm looking to get one of those old harmonies, the Stratatones.
I have.
I love those, man.
I would love to get one. There's a guy, Ray Kennedy. He's a guy in town here. He's a producer, engineer, mastering engineer, studio owner, but guitar player and collector for years. And I was playing on a record there, and he had the Stratotone. He pulled it down. He said, "Here, play this." And it was just the coolest sound.
Oh,
thing.
Man, it sounds great. It feels good. Yeah. You know John Prestia?
I do not.
He's Tim McCraw's guitar tech for like 20 years, and he's got a cool studio, and I was over his place, and he's got a bunch of them, and he just kept pulling them out. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, what is this? And I wrote it down. I'm like, I got to get, you know, you could find them around you got to do some work on them, of course, because they're from the 60s,
Right.
but they're not outrageous unless they've been modified, and then they're like $1,200. But you can get them for less than $500.
Yeah.
And
Are you talking about the 3 pickup ones or
the 2 pickup ones? I've seen them in 3. They have them in a bunch. They have them like with F holes. They look like not like a 335, but like kind of like that. Yeah, right. And then they have the like a Les Paul, like a cutaway with 2 pickups. That's the one I want to get. I mean, it sounded great. And I forgot the pickups are called. It's a certain name for them, but they're really cool pickups. They just sound when the guitar is hooked up and fixed, it sounds great, and it just feels really good. And they're semi-hollow, but they sound. I mean, it's a nice sounding guitar. I really like them. Yeah,
they're really cool.
And relative price wise, if you can get a guitar for $400, and even if you got to pay someone another $400 to totally hook it up, that's
to make it right.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty. You got a guitar a vintage guitar from the 60s that sounds killer, man. What the hell? You can't get that for $800 anywhere.
Yeah,
So, let me ask you this, Bob. What everybody pays tuition in what we do, and I was wondering if you'd be kind enough to maybe share a couple of mistakes you might have made, tuition you might have paid over the years, and what you learned from it.
I have a horrible memory, and I tend to forget crap that I don't want to hang on to. I don't know. I clear my memory banks, my DRAM. I can't really think of anything. I had read that little thing that you sent, and I think I've just been incredibly fortunate my whole life, really. It's like stuff I don't, like I said, I'm not a self-promoter, and I don't really chase after things. Things just kind of fall out in front of me. And I walk, just try to decide, well, am I turning here or am I going this way? And I don't know how I would do it if I had to start out today and try and do what I've done. I couldn't tell anyone how to do that.
Sure.
I think it's all a series of coincidences, really, that I think has given me. My wife said there's no such thing as coincidences.
Some people feel that way. A lot of people. I kind of feel that way. I think things are purposeful and happen sort of like you create the coincidence. But you know what? What you said, I saw an interview many, many, many years ago with Troy Aikman, and they said, "What's the best asset a quarterback needs to have?" And he said, "A short memory." So that's not. I understand exactly what you said and how why you said it and why you feel that way, and because it doesn't make sense to dwell on stuff because it's not at all. Looking in the rearview mirror is never going to help you today.
No, it's not. Unless they are, maybe you hang on to lessons and somewhere back in the memory banks, they're sitting there, but so that you don't make the same mistakes again. But I don't know.
So if you had, if I asked you, said, "Hey, what advice would you give young Bob Britt today?" What advice would you have? Any advice for the younger you?
Well, sometimes I think I wish that I would have maybe joined a band or started a band or done my own thing. I've always just been a side guy. And my wife has kind of gotten me singing more, and we're doing, we did a little duo EP last year, before the cruise last year, because we were working on her record, but I went through the whole cancer thing, which really put the kibosh on that record. And then cruise was coming up, and I said, well, we could just do a little thing here at the house. Got a half dozen songs. We did a little EP. Basically live, her playing percussion, two of us sing, me playing guitar, and the two of us sing. And it's really cool, and I've enjoyed that. And I do enjoy singing, and so I kind of wish that I would have maybe pursued more of a career, maybe an artist, being an artist, which
more out of curiosity as to what would have happened, or the sense of you think it would have had another layer of fulfillment, or both?
Yeah, another layer.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
I'm kind of doing it now, and I probably will do a record this year.
Good. Yeah. You heard it here. If I asked you to pick your 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order, knowing that could change any day, what would your top 3 CDs or records be?
Oh, wow. That's hard. That's hard to say. I'd probably have maybe a Los Lobos would be in there. I love those guys. Like a greatest hits or something. I don't know. Man. That's hard to say. I don't really, it's interesting that I don't listen to much music, actually.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think I listened to a lot of music, and I practiced a lot when I was young, and up until, through my 30s. And then I kind of stopped. Practice-wise. And I think I had this theory that I didn't want to learn a bunch of licks, because I thought, well, then I'm just going to be playing a bunch of licks. I want to play from my heart and my soul. I want to play what someone would sing, not play scales, not play, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of almost had this theory that practicing was detrimental to music, which sounds convoluted, but
it does. But let me tell you, I mean, if you look at your resume, whatever you've done is worked.
I think there is, I think there's merit to that you can be too good. And then it's just a different thing. That's, I'm not the kind of guy I'm not flashy. I don't play fast. And I try to hopefully just play things that support whatever the song is, or whatever the whole band is. I try to hopefully find a part that is glue,
Sure.
And that's kind of been my theory, and so the Desert Island record thing, it might be, Frank Sinatra, it's probably not going to be guitar stuff so much as songs.
Sure, I get it.
My favorite songs, my 2 favorite songs are Somewhere Over the Rainbow and What a Wonderful World.
And both of those songs have been done. What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong?
Yeah. Oh, What a Wonderful World.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. It was a Frenchman who wrote that song.
Oh, I didn't know that. I only heard Armstrong's version. It's a beautiful song, really pretty song. And Somewhere Over the Rainbow has been done by loads of guitar players, oddly enough. I don't know if you know that. And it's real beautiful, really pretty song.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Beck, he did it recently. And what's his name? One of my top 3 favorite guitar players, who I can't get his name right now. The Australian
Tommy Emmanuel.
Yeah, he does beautiful work.
I think everything that guy does is.
Oh, it's crazy.
Does he do anything that's not sound beautiful?
Yeah, it's like the guitar is a physical part of him.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's like it's a part of his body. He can do anything.
Tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd. Maybe we need to get your wife on this one. She probably got a list.
Yeah, she probably does. She's not in here right now. I don't know. I drive the bus.
You drive the bus?
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I learned with Leon.
Yeah.
We drove together all the time. So he was driving the bus or I was driving the bus. And I still do. I have my commercial driver's license. And I'll really drive out there.
The CDL, that's good.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I like driving. I've been on the road for so long that I just assume be up front, moving us along as sitting in the back.
I was in Nashville about 2 months ago. I came up because I met so many guys from doing this just to hang for a little bit. And I drove, and I never drive it's 10 hours from here. It's not a long drive, but it's not around the corner.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of it. And my wife said, and she came back with me because she flew up here.
Right.
In midweek, she was, all right, get all your guitar shopping stuff out of the way. And then I'll come up and meet. And I'm like, great, that's cool. She said, what did you, I said, I couldn't believe you liked that. I said, what did you love about it? I said, you know what I loved about it is I got to sit and listen to music for 10 hours straight. And I cannot remember the last time I've had that long a I listen to music every day, but it's song here, song, it was wonderful, man. I sat there smoking cigars and listening to music. I was in heaven.
That's great. We have Sirius up in the driver's, portion of the bus, and I'll either have it on the 40s station or the Bluesville station, one of those two stations.
It makes driving great, man.
Oh yeah, and you hear all these new things, and something will come on, and if I want to remember what it is, I'll have my phone there. I'll take a picture.
Yeah, take a picture. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
You mentioned your wife a couple of times. How long y'all been together?
Well, we got married in '89, so
20, 89 and 94 is 20. So like 30 years, almost 28 years or something.
28 years.
That's great, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
That's a long time, man. It's a lot of work.
Well, and Leon, one time, we're just driving down the road and we're talking about Etta. Her real name is Melissa. Melissa Pruitt was her name. And then it became Melissa Britt, and then it became Etta Britt. Etta came about, for whatever reason, her little sister started calling her Etta when they were little girls. And then we were at Leon's recording some stuff on her. And her sister called and said, is Etta there? And I said, oh, yeah, hang on a minute. And I was filling out a track sheet, when we used to use tape and paper. And I just, for kicks, I wrote Etta Britt. It stuck. That became her stage name.
What do you call her?
Honey.
Do you call her Melissa?
I call her it took me year. I will refer to her to other people as Etta.
Sure.
And that was really hard for me to do for a long time. She's always been Melissa.
Yeah.
But she's Melissa to her oldest, real old.
Yeah.
Leon, he just said, why don't you just quit messing around and just marry her and start having kids? So, that's what happened.
How many kids do you have?
We have two. We have two daughters, and now we have one granddaughter who is 4, and that's from my oldest daughter. And my youngest daughter is now about 4 months pregnant.
Oh, congratulations, man.
I have another one. Yeah.
Grandkids are easy, aren't they?
That's the best.
Yeah, it's just here. Yeah, you don't have to do any. You don't have that responsibility, that weighed. At least for me, it was a very. I took that stuff really seriously, and it was such a great. It was a big. I don't say burden. It was a big weight to carry for me. I felt always to maintain and provide and take care, and it's a lot of work. I thought so anyway. Yeah. And grandkids, it's like I don't feel that sense of responsibility. It's just like hang out and
have a great time. Yeah,
yeah. It's a little, yeah.
She lives across the street from us.
Oh, cool, man.
Well, right now, but they're building a new house next door to us, and I think they're going to buy that, so they'll actually be our next door neighbor.
Wow, that's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it's great. We love it.
That's good, man. That's real good.
And her mom is a nurse, and
that's nice.
Works 12-hour shifts, and she likes the night shift. So it's cool. We can help out her, and she's married to a musician as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he's a guitar player, harmonica player, singer, and kind of a mountain music, bluegrassy trio. Really cool band called the Howlin' Brothers.
The Howling Brothers?
Howlin' Brothers, yeah.
The Howlin' Brothers.
There's no G in Howlin'.
The Howlin' Brothers.
Howlin' Wolf.
Hey, do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
I played golf, which is great on the road. You take your golf clubs, that gives you something. That gives you a little distraction. But I don't really play anymore. I've kind of hurt my back, and now my shoulder's a little screwy, so I don't do that anymore. I like Formula One car racing. I finally went to the race this year in Austin. That was really cool. I used to go when I lived in California. They had them in Long Beach. That's about it. I like baseball, all right. I'm not a big sports guy other than baseball and that one type of car racing.
That's cool, man. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions and let you go. I appreciate your time, but they're going to be difficult questions. What toughest decision you ever had to make, or hardest thing you ever had to do?
I would say the hardest thing was having to fire people. I've been in several touring situations where I'm the musical director. Like with the Dixie Chicks, I was the musical director.
You were with the Dixie Chicks?
Yeah.
Did you play with? Were you there with David Grissom?
No, he came in right after me.
Okay. Yeah, because I think he was MD as well, so you couldn't have been together. Yeah, okay.
He took my place.
Okay.
Having to fire people, that's no fun.
Yeah, for sure.
But sometimes it has to be done.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy that, but just shit you got to do.
Yeah. And the last question, what's the biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years?
Well, I've always been a pretty mellow, slow, easygoing guy. And if it's possible, I'm even more so. Going through, the biggest change has been, after going through cancer. And I am so much more appreciative of everything in life, especially relationships with people. I look at things with, I have new eyes that I see through. I quit watching the news when I was going through chemo because I just don't want anything negative in my life.
I haven't watched news in 35 years, man.
Good for you. This is a way better way to live your life.
I don't know anything going on, and I know people might say, well, you're ignorant. I'm okay with that.
No,
you're not. Totally good with that.
You're not ignorant at all. You're very intelligent.
I'm happier. So that's all.
Yeah.
I don't have same reason. I'm like, why do I need any negative shit in my head other than the negative shit that I'm forced to deal with anyway? So now I got to take on other people's negative shit. I said, no, I don't want to hear. Bad enough on Facebook now you get content feeds straight throughout, and I always delete or unsubscribe with all that crap, but still.
Same thing. I preach that to people, man. Don't fall into that.
No. Well, there's nothing good in there.
It's bad for you. Yeah. It's bad. It's just not good.
I agree, 100%.
And so I just don't. It does no good. There's nothing good that comes.
No, absolutely not. Especially, when I stopped, is somebody once said, I was studying a lot of self-development stuff, and they said at the time, the things that you're thinking about as you go to bed, those are the things that fill your subconscious, which is the part of your brain that actually controls and conducts a lot of it's a governor of your life. And I said, holy crap, I'm done. That I got enough bullshit. I'm not adding anything, and I don't even watch much TV, to be honest with you, in general. Documentaries or movie. I'm not, I'd be shooting myself if I ever watch a reality show.
Yeah.
So, well, good, man. I'm glad. It sounds like your vision got better.
Yeah, it did.
Good for you, man.
It's a life-changing thing to go through, and I'm as bad as it was. I'm glad I did. I'm glad it happened. Because it kind of was an awakening of sorts.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah, I am too. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, are you kidding me? It's been a pleasure. Let me tell people where to find you. First of all, check out Bob Britt. It's Bob, obviously Bob, Britt. If I got to spell Bob, you're going to listen to the wrong show and the wrong guy. Check him out on tour with Delbert McClinton. Delbert's at Delbert.com, Delbert. And you know what? Rob told me the same thing about Delbert. It was a pleasure playing for the guy, and he came along at the right time in Rob's life because it was like a catharsis for Rob, and the same positive stuff you said. So everybody, if you're not hip to Delbert McClinton's music, he's got great stuff. Check him out. Check out Bob's wife, Etta Britt. It's ettabritt.com, ETTA, Britt.com, BRITT. And you can listen to her record, and Bob worked on that with her. And you can check out Bob's fan page on Facebook. Again, it's Bob Britt, BRITT. Any final words of wisdom, my man?
Just quit watching the news.
Yeah, man. Stop watching the news. I hear that.
Stop watching the news. Be truthful. Don't lie to people. And be truthful to yourself. Do what you love to do. Don't, just get, try and have positive stuff in your life. That's the best advice I think I can give anybody.
You saved the best for last, man. Good work on that.
All right.
Hey, thank you. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Bob, I really appreciate your time, man. It's been nice getting to talk to you and get to know you a little bit.
Likewise.
Thanks so much for spending time with us. I appreciate it. And go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes along with some cool stuff we're releasing. Be nice. Go play your guitar. And most important, have fun. You only get one chance at this life. Till next time, peace and love, and I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.